Begin with Donald Trump about to face a crush of new investigations. Now, many people said, look, this summer felt a little chaotic and you had all the Mueller stuff. Democrats say there's a lot more to get to. Two top leaders in the House announcing a new probe into whether Donald Trump has abused his position as president to enrich himself. That's something that many government officials get in trouble for, some lose their jobs for. Now, obviously, the context here is something we've been reporting on aggressively all week. The revelations that Vice President Mike Pence took this absurd, very publicly embarrassing 180-mile detour just so he could drop some taxpayer dollars at Trump's hotel over there in Ireland. Now, Trump also is pushing his Florida resort for an international summit, trying to get foreign governments to pay in, although that hasn't been approved yet. And Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler, as well as Oversight Chair Elijah Cummings, are saying this is serious investigative stuff. They're now demanding documents from the White House, from Pence, from even the Secret Service, which could set up all kinds of battles, as well as the Trump Organization, which is, of course, on the receiving end of these apparent boondoggles, and they're setting a deadline of September 19th. Nadler says that what they find could help this committee make a decision on, yes, whether to recommend, quote, articles of impeachment. Now, earlier in this week, we were reporting on how Democrats had essentially three different fronts for any potential impeachment probe. First, the evidence laid out by Mueller, which, of course, has been publicly discussed and partly stonewalled by the White House preventing witnesses from speaking to the Congress. Second, though, there's Donald Trump's racist actions as president. That was the way that Al Green put it in the impeachment vote that he held, which, remember, wasn't backed by 5 or 10 or 20 people in the resistance. 95 elected Democrats in the House backed that road to impeachment. And then third, and this is new, you have the House going deeper into these illegal hush payments to women who alleged contact and affairs with Trump. And much of that occurred in 2016 when there's no argument for executive privilege about the underlying material. Now, Donald Trump enriching himself, I should say, through the presidency, well, you could consider that a potential fourth door, according to some Democrats, because there's plenty to work with here. Mike Pence shifting his explanations over real time throughout the week about why he went out of his way to spend your money at that resort.
He was asked, quote, did President Trump ask Vice President Pence to stay at the property? Short answered, quote, I don't think it was a request, like a command. I think it was a suggestion.
A suggestion from the president.
The opportunity to stay at Trump National in Doonbeg to accommodate the unique footprint that comes with our security detail and other personnel made it logical.
About 3:30 in Ireland last night, that's when the Vice President's Chief of Staff, Mark Short, put out an additional statement explaining this, blaming it on misreporting, even though a lot of what had been reported was just quoting of the Vice President and of his Chief of Staff.
So you start with, this was Trump's idea. Well, who else's idea would it be to go out of your way to stay at a Trump hotel? Then you have the idea, oh, it was a logical choice. Nobody really bought that. And then you have blaming the press. Democrats have a completely separate investigation as well into whether Trump was trying to profit from foreign governments when he pushed his Doral resort as a host, potentially, of the next G7 summit.
Doral happens to be within Miami. It's a city. It's a wonderful place. It's a very, very successful area of Florida. It's, very importantly, only 5 minutes from the airport. It's not about me. It's about getting the right location.
You may have heard the old saying, location, 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 5 minutes from the airport or 180 miles, depending on which airport you need to use. Now, next week, Democrats will be back in Washington, and they're saying that means Donald Trump is going to have a lot more explaining to do. Kicking off our show tonight, we got a lot of different topics to cover, but we begin on Following the Money with Jason Johnson from The Root and Margaret Carlson from The Daily Beast. Margaret, it would seem that things that Donald Trump has long been known for, the excessive exaggeration of his properties, the blatant self-promotion, self-enrichment, are getting more investigative attention now, at least the way it went down with Pence and Attorney General Barr planning $30K at the Trump Hotel in Washington.
Well, the others have been a little bit vaguer because who is paying? William Barr is paying the $30,000 out of his own pocket, just happens to be going to the Trump Hotel down the street. But this one is the taxpayer. And, you know, Scott Pruitt and Ryan Zinke and Tom Price, all cabinet secretaries, were let go or fired or pushed out eventually for doing just this, this very staying in expensive hotels and taking private jets on the taxpayer dime. So involving the taxpayer money, I think, is the key here and why oversight and judiciary are doing it. But the other part about this is such a bold move. Like, it wasn't going to be a secret that he was going there. And there's nothing about a footprint. Like, Dublin has a lot of dignitaries that pass through and with a big footprint, and the footprint can be handled. And when I went to the Doonbeg website, rooms were going for €995 a night, which is slightly over $1,000. But also, those days that Pence was there were crossed out. So it could be that they took over the whole place. And the footprint was small enough, actually, that they took over the whole place.
Jason?
This is such an obvious scam. Like, I don't understand what takes the Democrats so long to realize that the President of the United States is scamming us all. This is a clear violation of the Emoluments Clause. And this isn't the only example, right? We've seen foreign dignitaries and we've seen ambassadors suddenly decide that they want to stay in Trump hotels, funneling money. He's basically using the United States as a way to funnel money into his personal finances. That's not complicated. It's not difficult. What amazes me, Ari, you know what's smarter than spending all this time and political capital on investigations? An actual impeachment hearing, because that makes the most sense. I don't understand why the Democrats can't do this. That's what amazes me about all of this.
Well, speak to that, because we've been having these conversations, and frankly, I hear from viewers of The Beat and MSNBC all the time about, well, wait a minute, the Democrats surely had to have a plan. They knew that sooner or later Mueller would end, and whether he ended with 4 incidents of obstruction, right, or 6 or 8, or, barring some phantasmagorical scenario where there was a video or something really smoking, which still we know in this climate people would debate. People ask me, well, Ari, don't the Democrats have a plan for what they're going to do when it all came in? And as we've been reporting, they have 3 or 4 doors. They have different caucuses. They now have a majority of the caucus for impeachment, but they don't seem, to your point, Jason, to have a clear plan of what they're going to do about it.
Right. When it comes to impeachable offenses, Trump has turned it from a 2 to a 4 and a 4 to an 8. Like, every single time they investigate the guy, we're finding more things he's done that are corrupt. What has amazed me about the Democrats is not only do they not have a plan, but what they should be doing and what they're wasting time with, every single one of these investigations could be part of an impeachment hearing. That's part of the show. That's part of the presentation to the public. But instead, they're wasting time in these sort of hearings that will be completely lost as we head into holiday season. So unless the plan is to do impeachment hearings in the spring during the primary, where you'll have a focus of attention, it seems like they're wasting an opportunity to not only fulfill their constitutional responsibilities, but hold a corrupt president in check.
Yeah, and Margaret, I mean, Jason calls it a scam. The thing about Donald Trump, this was true in his prior life in entertainment, and it is certainly true in the way he is as president. There's a lot of lying, and then occasionally there are little bolts of weird truths that make him look bad. And you think, why does someone who lies so much to try to look good then say true things that make him look bad? And maybe that's above my pay grade to know why. But this is an example of it. Now,
that's a rap song, Ari.
Well, what did LL Cool J said, you're lying about the lies that you tell. Here, it's occasionally blurting the truth. And I offer that as context for what I want your analysis on, which is here's Donald Trump saying basically something that no other president in either party would ever publicly admit to, which is that they think being president is costing them something and they could make more money elsewhere. And by the way, almost every qualified president could make more than a public sector salary. Barack Obama could have made more if he wanted to be a lobbyist or be at a law firm, right? I mean, it goes without saying. And yet here he was admitting that. Take a look.
Probably it'll cost me anywhere from $3 to $5 billion to be president. Couldn't care less. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. People have asked me, what do you think it costs? And between opportunity, not doing things, I used to get a lot of money to make speeches. Now I give speeches all the time. You know what I get? Zippo, and that's good.
And so, Margaret, he doesn't seem to realize that that's the wrong equation if you want to choose public service. Most people don't get to work in positions of power, decide life and death matters, but it's public service. He wants to stay private. He could have.
I wasn't counting, but I think that adds like another 100 lies to the 12,000 lies, because I don't care. That's really a big lie, because he does care. He's the only president who thinks he should still be making money in the private sector while he's president. Now, some presidents might think, well, I can make some money later. library, books, etc. But this is one who thinks just the opposite. He doesn't want to give up any money while he's there. And by the way, you know, he still owns all of his properties and all of his business. So his sons are running it. That was the worst case of removing conflicts of interest I've ever seen in government, ever.
Well put. Like a 2x4. Both of you stay with me. I want to bring in someone who we're actually indebted to in this reporting, and we like to go to our primary sources. Zach Everson runs the newsletter 1000 Pennsylvania, which reports on the Trump Hotel in Washington. And you know, Zach, you can never profile people, right? You know that. You can't learn a lot just by looking at someone, right?
Correct.
And so we don't profile you. Eagle-eyed viewers may recall you were on the show earlier this week. You were stumped by David Corn. He threw out a line from Snoop Doggy Dogg, and you knew it exactly top of the dome, and we salute you for that, Zach.
Thank you. That's what I'm here for.
Now on to the business. You have been tracking this. We'll put up on the screen, thanks to your work, the number of Republican senators that have been spending money at the Trump Hotel properties. That's just from public sourcing. Walk us through again, and for viewers who may not know about your work, although we've relied on it, what it is you found and why you thought it was important to track this apparent patronage.
Sure. I started looking at social media to see if we could find out who was spending money at the Trump Hotel, and you absolutely could. They're posting pictures on there. I started off in, I guess it was August 2017, and it was Anthony Scaramucci and Rudy Giuliani, and, you know, here we are a couple years later, and yesterday it was a governor of one of Pakistan's provinces, and Rudy Giuliani again, because he's a regular there. But you can really get a good glimpse of what's going on. So the senators, it's a mixture from FEC reports on campaign finance and also just pictures that I've seen of them online. And we've had, I think it's 26 out of 53 Republican senators have been there, only one Democrat senator.
Right. So it's the majority of their caucus and counting. It adds up to real money. The New York Times saying nearly 20 mil spent at Trump family hotels since 2015 only by Republican political groups. Based on your knowledge of the travel industry, which again is what you have some background in, is that an unusual amount of money for a hotel to get strictly for political reasons rather than what we might call earned or meritocratic interest in staying there?
Well, what really stands out is how Republicans didn't go to Trump properties until Trump became president. I mean, that is just the fact that you can see. You've seen Mike Pence's committee has spent $225,000 there. Minority Leader McCarthy's committee has spent over $225,000. The RNC has dropped over $400,000, and a pro-Trump super PAC has dropped over $500,000. I mean, right there, it's clear cut. He is profiting from the presidency.
Margaret?
And I don't know if Zach included this, Pence's PACs have paid $250,000 at Trump properties already. So, you know, what's striking about this is it's not hidden. It's all in plain sight. It's bold. It's out there. And, like, Democrats are just getting around to it. As Jason says, where have they been? I mean, just walk into the lobby. Thank you, Zach, for doing it for us. That's really hard duty. But it's there. It's not hard to get. You don't even need subpoenas. Just, like, you've got the documents. The documents are really powerful.
Right. In this new House investigation, we're not going to learn anything new. We already know that when Trump went to Doonbeg in, I think it was 2018, or excuse me, one of his Scottish golf courses in 2018, the taxpayers were on the bill for $77,000. The Scotsman did a great job reporting that. We know that they're going to request these documents. Maybe they'll get them. Maybe they won't. Information might leak. But the end result is going to be that the taxpayers were probably on the hook for about $50,000. What matters then is what the Democrats do with that information, if anything. Because right now we're seeing nothing. There's 7 different House panels that are looking into aspects of Trump's businesses. And we haven't seen any public information. And we certainly haven't seen any sort of change in behavior.
Jason?
And Ari, I got to say, like, what are they looking for at this point? Yelp reviews, right? Did they want the senators to be like, well, I didn't like the dinner here, or the continental breakfast wasn't that good? What this basically amounts to, it wouldn't even require an investigation. This looks like kickbacks I almost feel bad for some of these Republicans. They probably feel like if I don't spend money in a Trump hotel, he won't endorse me. He'll attack my primary opponent in 2020. Why it is that these members of the Senate can't realize that they are actually being taken advantage of as much as the American people is amazing to me, because I'm pretty sure a lot of these guys would rather spend the night at a Holiday Inn than $900 a pop at a Trump hotel.
Yeah. The only mystery here, Ari, is that William Barr needs Trump more than Trump, Trump needs William Barr more than William Barr needs Trump. But he's spending $30,000 out of his own pocket. Of all the expenditures, it's the one that I find mysterious.
Right. I find it telling because I've covered Mr. Barr, and I've said before on air, he is a very bright person. Whatever you think of what he does with his intelligence. And he didn't take a long time hanging out there in this new role. He's one of the more recent cabinet members to figure out how it works and how to ingratiate. And that's a chilling statement when we're talking about matters of literally life and death. I mean, who lives and who dies and who protects the prisons and how do executions work. And his focus was in getting not only getting a holiday party planned, but getting it leaked and getting it out there. That he's routing the money that way. On a lighter note, Jason, do you know how you can tell whether a continental breakfast is solid when you're on the road?
I do not. Please tell me.
My test, and I love a free included continental, is whether there's multiple types of juice. If I come in and it's only OJ, it's okay. But if I see the grapefruit juice, I feel like this Holiday Inn, and on the campaign trail, we end up at a lot of Holiday Inns. That's when you know it's a nice continental.
Ari, breakfast was included at the Dune Bag for your $1,000 a night.
Not just bread, but OJ. I like it.
I don't know about the OJ at the Dune Bag, but you got breakfast.
It's fitting we're talking about this with Zach here because on the beat we try to go all the way from OJ to OG.
Nice.
Zach, sorry.
No worries. You've got to up your standards for how you judge a continental breakfast.
You know, I'll try to be funnier next time.
Jason, I was impressed.
Margaret and Zach, thanks for your analysis, for putting up with me, for being on the beat on a Friday. What we're going to do is fit in literally a 30-second break.